This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, November 13th, 2023, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Dr. Brian Dorcey. He is with Farmers Business Network. He's going to tell us all about a new feed system for beef cattle. It's called Profectus. We will also have a check of the ag weather outlook, but first, let's check on the closing markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, end of last week, we got the latest WASDE report from the USDA. How did the grains react here today on Monday?
Well, the grains reacted very positive today, and I think what happened was, especially in the soybean market, we started to see more and more strength as we moved through the overnight trade and into today, because it started stacking up some of this news of daily export sales to soybeans. We had the two-day amount of soybeans sold to China of over 3 million metric tons. The daily sales were 204,000 metric tons to China. And it's a slow planting in South America. It's causing some now second crop or the corn seed to be canceled, some of the orders, because it's moving later in the season. So then the harvest will be later, and some of those seed orders are be planted for or canceled for corn. So the later planting of soybeans having an implication on what, maturity or how much time there's going to be for corn in order to mature. So those things permeated through the market, generating more buying interest in the soybean meal. Very strong today. Soybeans very strong today. Now on the export inspection side of it, wasn't quite as positive for soybeans, but that seemed to take a back seat. 61.2 million bushels of soybeans, excuse me, were inspected this week relative to 80.2 million last week. Still a good amount, but down from the previous week. Now corn inspections were 24 million bushels. Last week was 22.6, so we saw a little bit more strength from there. That carried the ball a little bit on corn, but I think corn mostly was pushed higher by the spillover strength from soybeans. Wheat, that was good at 7.6 million bushels, and that was actually higher than last week. So the wheat was the one, though, that was more of the laggard today. It continues to struggle based off of USDA's projections from the WASDE report on when they increased Russian wheat production. And winter wheat's in the ground. Demand is slower right now. So that basically struggled along. I think it was held up a little bit, but because of the strength in the other complexes. But other than that, the real striver of the market was the soybeans, and Ag Rural even cut some of the Brazilian soybean forecast today as well. And with their lower planting at 61% complete, that's 8% behind last year. Doesn't seem like a lot, but as you move through, that's a little more behind than it was last week. So that got the focus, that got the attention of traders, and we did see some nice strength.
Robin, what did we see take place on the other side of the ag marketplace in the livestock complex?
Well, cattle found their legs today after initially struggling. Now, the struggling came through after last week when we saw cash trade anywhere between $4 and $7 lower, more downside last week in the dressed side of the cattle market versus the lives, but still a pretty significant drop based off of what we have been seeing for quite a while. Now, futures plummeted last week over $10 a hundred, and that was pretty substantial when you look at the charts right now. That's going to be hard to overcome. But they struggled for a little while, found a little bit of buying interest. I think most of it seemed to be short covering rather than establishing a lot of new long positions. The anticipation at the end of last week was for probably lower cash this week. We'll have to see as the bid and offers from packers and feedlots are floated out and what the sales numbers are, not sales numbers, the offers, the amount that they're show lists in the different areas. But I would venture to say right now, based off of what we're seeing with the uneasiness in boxed beef, that was mixed this morning. Choice was down 48 cents, select up $1.74. We've seen boxed beef either weakening or mixed over the last while, and I would venture to say off of that, we're probably looking initially at lower cash this week, but maybe not as much as we saw last week. But the damage has been done on the cattle charts, and that's going to be very difficult to overcome. There are chart gaps way up a lot higher in live cattle, but that's going to take a long time to fill those, if they are going to fill them, because there's a negative element, negative tone in that market right now. Hogs were on a roller coaster this morning, up, then down, then back up again. They found some support after a period of time. They have yet to break above that sideways trading pattern that has developed here about the last maybe week and a half. There was no indication of what we could be looking at cash today because the Packer confidentiality, they couldn't get the numbers through. So there's nothing there at this point in time. Cutouts, though, were very strong, up 375 on the morning report. Cutouts were higher on Friday, so that set a little bit of the tone for earlier today or moving through the day till we had a little more confirmation on the midday report for cutouts. So we're seeing some strength under that market right now. Based off of that, if we can just see some cash higher to begin the week, I think we might be on our way to maybe seeing a little bit higher trend resuming.
Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net, our guest here today. Robin, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net. The 844 number is there. Call in and somebody will answer the phone and be glad to talk with you.
And Robin, before we wrap up here today, I wanted to mention here in Iowa, farmers are putting the finishing touches on harvest here throughout the state for the most part. But I know you're located near Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and you were telling us before we started talking today, actually farmers still have a long ways to go with their corn. Could you tell us why?
Yeah, long ways to go. We're basically just really getting started now. Moisture's been stubborn, been holding up there. Had a little bit late germination because of the dryness here, and we've got to the heat degree days and everything, but the last 3 weeks prior to the end of last week or middle of last week, we were struggling with about 3 weeks of rain, damp weather, cloudy weather, nothing dried down. And we just wrapped up some soybeans here, but corn is just getting underway for dry corn. High moisture corn obviously has been off, but for dry corn. And so we're struggling here a little bit, but it's going to get done. This is not the first year we've seen something like this.
Well, best of luck to all the farmers out there finishing up on harvest. Robin, thanks so much for the time and have a great day.
All right. Thank you and enjoy the week.
Thank you to Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net for our closing market analysis. It is time now for a check of the closing numbers, and those numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart.
December corn up 13 1/4 at 477 1/4. November soybeans up 34 1/2 at 1368 even. January soybean meal up $18.90 at $453.80. January soybean oil up 15 cents at $50.70. Chicago wheat up 3 3/4 at $5.79 even. Minneapolis wheat down 1 3/4 at $7.28 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 1 1/2 at $6.41 1/2. December oats up 9 1/2 at $3.56 1/4. On the Merc, December live cattle up 75 cents at $174.92. November feeder cattle up $1 even at $230.72. December lean hogs up $1.45 at $73.35. December pork cutout up 95 cents at $83 even. Class 3 milk up 4 cents at $17.12.
That does it for our closing market coverage here today on Ag Matters PM. It is time now to take a break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soybean Checkoff. And when we come back, I will be joined by Dr. Brian Dorcey from Farmers Business Network. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
You're watching Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. In today's show, I am joined by Dr. Brian Dorcey. He is with Farmers Business Network. He's going to tell us all about a new feed system for beef cattle, and it's called Profectus. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Dr. Brian Dorcey. He is the head of veterinary strategy at Farmers Business Network, and he's here today to tell us about a new feed system, which is called Profectus. First of all, Dr. Brian, could you tell us about the new feed system and why you're so excited about it?
Yeah, we're excited to roll out the Profectus feed system. It is we think revolutionary. It is a new and novel way of formulating beef cattle diets. So traditionally, beef cattle diets have been formulated on energy and crude protein. We take that a level deeper on the protein side and actually go after some specific amino acids and specific ratios of those amino acids in the diet. And as we address those amino acid shortcomings that a traditional diet provides for the cattle, we see dramatic improvement in performance, and even that translates all the way through to carcass value and onto the fab floor. So we're super excited to roll this new feed system out. And it's a new way of looking at beef cattle nutrition, because it was once thought that the rumen was always a big blocker for balancing on amino acids. But, based on Dr. Curley's system, who's kind of the godfather of this research, who's on staff with us, we found a way to make those amino acids make their way through the rumen and translate into performance in our beef cattle. So we're super excited about it.
So you already kind of answered my next question then. The fact that you say this is revolutionary, it's a new way to do this in beef cattle. So was it that just research that you needed to get those answers and find out how to do this that makes it possible?
Yeah, I think Dr. Curley's, research and university career was on a small scale, small pen type of environment. And so can we take that same research and do it at scale into a pen wide and then into a yard wide opportunity for cattle producers to save money? The swine folks and the poultry folks, all those monogastrics, have been doing amino acid balancing for years. It was just until recently that Dr. Curley and our group of nutritionists kind of discovered or proved out the unlock to make this commercially available to beef producers.
So you're trying to, of course, reduce that rate, or excuse me, you're trying to reduce the cost of gain, but at the same time improving that feed efficiency. So it kind of is what we see in, row crop agriculture, where we're talking about precision ag and trying to get that every last bit of efficiency. Is this kind of the same thing we're thinking about with this feed system?
Absolutely. I think about this feed system is similar to unlocking the genetic potential. Just as we think about how our genetics have changed on the row crop side and, all those things that detract from the genetic potential that's in the seed, we have the same issue in livestock. And so as we address these amino acid shortcomings, we absolutely unlock the genetic potential of these animals. So the thought process of overlaying row crop ag on the beef cattle side is super. It's right along the same line of thinking.
So Dr. Dorcey, I would imagine you've put this into testing then. You've had a chance to see some actual results. How did that play out?
We have. We're very excited. It was just a week ago that we wrapped up a 400-day study that we had that followed cattle all the way through to harvest. We saw improvements in feed to gain, improvements in average daily gain, which built into a reduction in cost to gain. And the goal of that harvest study was we were happy to see the productivity, to take the money that we saved in productivity and put that in our pocket and go down the road with a carcass that was as good as a traditionally fed beef animal. However, we picked up substantially more profit in the carcass value that we were able to garner, in addition to the productivity dollars that were generated through the feeding period. So, when we did some check weighs along through this latest study, we had about an $83 a head advantage to the conventionally fed cattle, just in productivity and more pounds of gain per pound of feed that they consumed. As we took that all the way to harvest, we were able to demonstrate savings in reduced days on feed, as well as improvements in carcass quality and carcass characteristics. So we're very excited to stack those carcass savings on top of the productivity savings that we saw. And we were well north of $130 a head savings as we added the productivity onto the carcass savings. And that's by doing nothing more than addressing the amino acids in these cattle and trying to feed to their genetic potential. Again, one study, but we see we've started to replicate that at other sites, and the trends are continuing to be very similar, whether it's native cattle, dairy cross, or even some exotics.
So saving money on the inputs for the individual animal, also then raising that overall value of the animal. So I would ask Dr. Dorcey then, does this feed system, is this a system that you would recommend for all cattle producers, or is there a certain subset of cattle producers that you would target this towards?
I think it fits all cattle producers. I think if I'm a cattle owner or a rancher and retain ownership through a feed yard, I think I want to feed at a yard that's got the Profectus feed system in there, because the demonstrated carcass improvement as well as the productivity is dollars back in my pocket. If I'm a farmer feeder and I'm feeding cattle, I've got more pounds of live beef to sell per my crop acres, which are often the limiting factor on a farm. So I do get more pounds of beef per acre farmed if I'm a farmer feeder. And as I'm a consumer, Profectus cattle, based on the tests that we just closed out, have an increased carcass quality and value. So it's a better eating experience for the consumer. So the Profectus feed system checks lots of boxes, checks the productivity box, checks the profitability box for the farmer, and it also checks the sustainability box to the consumer, because we can grow more pounds of beef per pound or per acre farmed than we can on conventionally fed cattle. So we're very excited and feel like this is going to be a revolutionary approach to the market.
And I was reading some of your previous comments about the feed system a few days ago, and you'd use the term win-win. So like you just said, there's a lot of things that go into making the most efficient feed system possible, because it does benefit us in so many ways.
Yeah, I think in all of American agriculture today, the efficiency unlocks that we as producers need to evaluate and bring to the table to continue to feed the world. I think we've got to look at those through a return on investment and through a responsibility lens to the rest of the world. To can I profitably do it, and can I continue to feed the world, and does it make sense for my operations? So the efficiencies that we're continuing to unlock, whether it be in genetics or productivity, it's an exciting time to be in American agriculture.
The Profectus feed system, new from FBN. Dr. Dorcey, is there anything else you'd like to let our listeners, our viewers know about when it comes to this new feed system and what it can do?
I think, a lot of the data can be accessed at FBN.com. That's our platform where we can go in and you can access and request more information if you want to learn more about the Profectus feed system. I think this is the next generation of cattle feeding. And I think we, as an industry, should be excited about the fact that we can get more specific and more targeted with our inputs and be more responsible.
He's Dr. Brian Dorcey. He is the head of veterinary strategy with Farmers Business Network. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today, and best of luck with the new feed system going forward.
Thank you. We're excited. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much to Dr. Dorcey with Farmers Business Network for that interesting interview. It is time now for a check of the ag weather outlook. Not a whole lot of intrigue in the forecast here for the short term as we look at today's forecast. A lot of sunshine, just a little bit of cloud cover in some parts of the state, but otherwise very comfortable temperatures. In fact, it is unseasonably warm as those temperatures climb into the 60s here today. For this evening, it is going to be a cool night, although again, that cool down not going to get too low this evening. And then tomorrow, more sunshine, more comfortable temperatures. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what's in store for the next 24 hours.
As you can see from the National Weather Service, sunny skies and warm temperatures today with highs expected 63 to 67 here in the state of Iowa. Mostly clear to clear skies tonight with lows 30 to 43. For tomorrow, mostly sunny and breezy with mild temperatures once again and highs expected in a range of 62 to 68. And now taking a look at our affiliate weather map for tomorrow. In northwest Iowa, Cherokee, mostly sunny and 66. For Shenandoah, sunny and a high of 68. Des Moines, sunny and 66. Albia, sunny on Tuesday with a high around 66. Waterloo, sunny and 65. Clinton, sunny and 62.
For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, make sure and check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that brings us to the end of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our daily content on our website at iowaagnet.com. For all of our video content, you can find it on YouTube. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the notification icon as well. That will let you know whenever we have any new videos available for you. Also, you can listen to our free twice daily market podcast, which are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. And you can follow us on social media at X, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.